perspective and all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 9 of this season, coming to you today from Magny Cours. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, for the second time in 2 days here in the Weekend Warriors world, we're here at Magny Cours with another race that is going to be a draft fest. We were here yesterday for the Formula V's, and that race was rather tame compared to most other V races. Here with the Spec Racer Fords, on the other hand, I have a feeling this race that lies ahead is probably going to be one for the drama-packed races and the bucket load that we've had throughout this season.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Ron. It is a very draft-heavy track, and the last time we were here last season, we saw a nice pack up front that slowly kind of went away via attrition. So we'll see if that trend continues today, if we have a nice big draft pack up front that keeps us entertained for the 40 minutes of our race today.
Yeah, it's going to be another entertaining round from what has been a very entertaining season up to this point. And as we are still rather early on into qualifying, I say early on, we'll just pass the halfway mark. I think we'll draw attention to the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We've had some wonderful sponsors throughout this season. And for the final few weeks of this Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors season, we've got a fantastic one in the form of Dirk Braun and Twisted Reflections Auto Paint. We'd like to thank Dirk for sponsoring the final few weeks of this season, and he's actually going to be on the Racing Line podcast coming up this Tuesday over on the Ray Esports YouTube channel, so you can catch him on there and catch him right now on track, currently qualified P6, top of the Spec 2 racers as it stands right now. But before we get too far off and distracted into talking about qualifying, I think we'll take a look at the championship point standings heading off into this 9th round of the championship. And in Spec 1, Marco Pinero holds on to the championship points lead as it stands at the present moment. A momentum shift has gone on in this class to give Marco Pinero a somewhat comfortable gap as we head off into the final few rounds of the championship. 762 is his tally over Felix Samoz in second at 708. Kane Lasky in P3, our SMB colleague, off the back of a win last time out at Oran Park, is in third at 662. Jason Green in fourth with Josh Justice rounding out your top 5 in Spec 1. And we'll take a look at Spec 2 now. And Charles, I'll pass it off to you to talk about the other 2 classes we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Dirk Braun leading Spec 2, 484 points. Get a nice, comfortable gap over Josh Wilkie, having a great season, running in second. Matt Thompson in third. Leonard Geese is in 4th position. Phil Berry in 5th, very tight there between 4th and 5th, and even Peterson Rocha down there in P6. As we roll over to the Masters class, Antonio Reese, Wolveronio himself, leading again in the championship standings, will not be racing today. Does not own the track, so he will not be here. So he'll lose some of that gap to Jeff Richer, and then only 10 points back to Tom Gradwell, who I think was leading the Masters qualifying. So we may have us a pretty tight little battle going into the next round, but Fritcher and Gradwell need to make the most of today. Brad Cathcart in 4th. Adam Bradshaw rounds out your top 5 in the Masters class.
And so that's how it looks as it stands right now here in this season. Not a lot of time left to go in this championship. In fact, only going to have 3 races left after this here at Magny Cours for round number 9. Been a brilliant season up to this point. We head to this track, which is going to be a rather treacherous one to be sure. Hosted Formula One for many, many moons. It is also the host of this race. Magny Cours doesn't translate to anything different in English, but to me, I feel like the key to success at Magny Cours is definitely going to be remaining patient. Charles, I'll pass it off to you to talk about the keys.
Yeah, keys to the race today. Lots and lots to draft on board as you see the 310 car going a little wide, which you can't see because of the graphic. So lots and lots of draft on board today. You're going to be able to carry a lot of speed and get some help from the other cars on track. Secondly, no camber to help in the corners. It's a very flat surface. And you're going to have to get, do a lot of the turning yourself with the help of the brakes and things like that. But you're not going to much help to carry speed through the corners, which is going to be difficult to keep the momentum up. And then finally, that last chicane, very tricky little prospect. A couple of ways to get off tracks there as slowdowns. So you can take a little bit, but not too much. You want to nibble the curbs, not take a full bite. And those are the keys to today's race. And I will throw in also turn 14 as we do the lap guide here, I'm sure very soon. Turn 14, for whatever reason, caught a lot of drivers out in our last round here last season at Magny Cours, and I don't know if that's going to continue or not, but it kind of feels like it might.
Yeah, we have a feeling that it may potentially continue on. This track is a rather menacing facility. Not a whole lot of elevation change to talk about, but you've got a wide variety of different turns around this racetrack. Slow corners, medium speed corners, fast corners, long-ish straightaways, heavy braking zones, quick little flat-out blast. There is just about everything around this track that can test your patience, test your skill, and really test your nerves as well, driving in these Formula, not a Formula. It is a Spec racer Ford. I nearly said Formula V. I completely defaulted to the broadcast yesterday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But as we are rather early on this qualifying session, let's do an onboard lap here with. We're gonna do that with Felix Samoas. We'll do it with our sponsor of today's broadcast, Dirk Braun. I will say that was a huge sideways snap from Felix Samoas heading off through that final chicane, which is certainly going to be a treacherous spot. But Charles, I'll pass it off to you to do the lap guide here at the sponsor of today's show, Dirk Braun.
Oh, yeah, let's ride along with Dirk Braun as we head down the front straight, crossing the start-finish line. Going to get that run. You see how wide he's going to open this corner up to take as much speed through turn 1 as he possibly can. And we'll keep that rolling around through turn 2 and then into 3. Uphill, very, very open corner, still carrying a lot of speed through there as they work their way around. And we're going to head down here into this little kink section there. I'm not really sure that's much of a corner. It looks flat to me. As we come around as another one as well. You see that how long the straightaway is. You're going to have cars behind you drafting and gaining lots and lots of time as you make this run down into this corner, the hairpin, turn 5. Very, very tight corner there. You got to get on your brakes and be smooth through there to carry the speed through as you roll out and head down this next straightaway. As you can see, still carrying a lot of speed. You're going to run into this little chicane here. You open it up nice and wide. Take a bunch of that curb there on both sides and then wide out on the exit to open up for this next corner, turn 7 or 8. I believe that's probably what it's called. Excuse me, as I cough into the microphone. And we're going to keep rolling as you see more and more chicanes. So we're going to come down. I think this is 11 and 12, this next chicane here. Another little fast chicane. Watch out for that orange sausage curve. Probably don't want to get on that if at all possible. And then here we go into 14. Once again, for whatever reason, catches drivers out. Don't really know why. Maybe it's just not being able to get the car slowed down as much as you might want. And then you run this little corner here called chicane for whatever reason. And then down into turn 15, which is actually going into the chicane here. Turn 15 will lead into that chicane once again. Take as much of that curb as you can. Don't get the slowdown, and you'll have yourselves a pretty good lap. And that's a very, very quick run back to the start-finish line.
Yes, a nice lap there from Dirk Braun to jump up into P number 6 as Felix Samoas holding on to P4 at the moment. I was going to be hearing something from the production truck about Felix. Mentioning some of the liveries here in this race, and Felix Samoas holding on to the same paint scheme as Chris Thorpe in the other 912 machine. I believe there are some of Felix's teammates that run from time to time in some of these races. I'm trying to remember who the other one was. The driver's name is right on the tip of my tongue. We've seen him a decent amount here in the Spec Racer Fords. I'm gonna have to go through into the history books that I've got here real quick. So I'll sing a little doodad and talk about Andrew Love, who we have on screen right now, currently qualified at P22 as it stands currently here in this session. Not a lot of time left to go, only a minute and a half left on the board, so these racers certainly in crunch time. This is usually when we get to see the cooker of lap times. This is when these racers really start to put in the cookers, and the driver that was popping into my head is Ben Rycroft, I believe, is another one of Felix Samoas' teammates.
In the 116 Motorsport, yeah, I think you may be right. Just kind of looking down the board there, we've got the top 11 cars within a second of pole. That kind of bodes well. Josh Justice just outside that 1 second gap. So we see that 116 car go off. But we've got the top 4 separated by under 2/10. So that's going to bode well for having us some pretty tight racing up at the front. So, this looks like it might turn into be a pretty good race here as we're on board here with Peterson Rocha. But there is a pretty sizable gap. Once you get out of that top 11, the lap times really kind of open up a bit. And so you've got several cars that aren't quite up to pace, which means we may see some lap traffic here before it's all said and done in this 40-minute race.
And I feel like lap traffic around this track is not going to be the best proposition for these racers. I would even go out all limb and say it's going to be potentially mildly horrifying for these races, especially if they get caught out by it a little bit later on in this race. So we have coming up the checkered flag now out in qualifying. Jason Green, top of the qualifiers as it stands right now in the 160 machine, a 153.5 for him. Marco Pinero set to join him on the front row as it stands currently. Kane Lasky off the back of the win last time out at Oran Park is slotted in third with Felix Moos and Scott Russell completing an all Spec 1 top 5 here in this race. And then the second half of the top 10 comprised entirely of Spec 2 racers. They're packed in like sardines with Dirk Braun, Josh Wilkie, Juice Simpkins, Leonard Geese, as Pinero gonna steal the pole position right at the end there. Rezal's going through the Spec 2 racers. Pinero gonna jump up to a 153.490 to steal the pole from Green.
Yeah, great run by Pinero. He's pulled up just a little bit, just jumped Jason Green by 15 thousandths of a second, and still only 0.201 back to P4. And now we've got 12 cars that have joined with Flavio Andolo moving up into P9, breaking up that Spec 2 group a bit. Tom Gradwell, our fastest Masters driver, running in P12 at 0.999 behind pole. Yeah, shaping up here. We get some more lap times in as these cars are still crossing. These laps will probably count, looking at a 122 pass in our overtime for qualifying. So I think there might be maybe one more or two just to get stuck in there before it's all done.
So I think the other drivers out there on the racetrack going to be setting in their final times, their final attempt to get the job done here in qualifying. With the way these Spec Racer Ford cars are, it can't really change the amount of fuel in them, so you just have to be running laps all the time in this session. And if you have burnt enough gas, you are going to be good as you can be at the end of this to set in a good time. Flavio Andolo, he's out there on the racetrack right now. Don't believe he crossed the line in time, so I think that P9 result for him, splitting some of those Spec 2 racers, is going to be as high as he starts for this race. But I still want to draw attention to that. A massive pack of Spec 2 racers all running around each other. You know, Spec 2 is usually that class that's a bit more broken up. Not seeing that today.
No, and usually there's a Masters driver up in the top 10, and normally it's Antonio Reese. Jorg Monty, also very quick driver, but Masters drivers struggling a little bit today with Gradwell being the highest ranked one in P12. So yeah, great job by the Spec 2 guys. Kind of a odd situation, but you see there's a group of very fast Spec 2 guys that are going to be up there to capitalize on any mistakes from the front runners.
So the Spec 2 racers always put on good battle. Spec 2, as far as I'm concerned, a very intriguing class. I mean, all the classes that we've got here in the Weekend Warriors are always fun to keep tabs on, but Spec 2, those racers in that category, a bit less experience. They can be a bit more rough around the edges, so to speak, compared to the Spec 1 competitors. I always love to keep eyes on it, but qualifying now done, we can switch our attention off into this race and take a look at the starting grid for this race. I was worried that we were going to have a sure and pace lap. Thankfully, we've got a long one, so we have plenty of time to go through the 26 starters here today. But it's going to be Marco Pinero leading us to green in that number 16 machine, a 153.490 for him in that session, puts him on the pole, only 15 thousandths of a second to gap to himself and Jason Green in P2. Kane Lasky right behind in third with Felix Samoas completing your second row. Looking right behind on row number 3, it's Scott Russell and Dirk Braun. Right behind them on row number 4 will be Leonard Geese, the German behind the wheel of the 527 machine. Next to Josh Wilkie and the 777 starting in 8th, and rounding out your top 10 will be Flavio Andolo and Juiced Simpkins.
Yeah, starting in P11 is going to be Alexander Gorson, the last of that Spec 2 group at the front. Tom Gradwell, our Masters pole sitter, starting in 12th. Josh Justice, Claudio Gardini starting in 13th and 14th. Jorg Monty starts in 15th. Dan Wood starting in 16th. Brad Cathcart starting in 17th. Jim Brewster starts in 18th. Phil Berry in 19th. Andrew Love starts in 20th. 21st is Chris Thorpe. Peterson Rocha starting in 22nd. Kevin Adrian starting in 23rd. Russ Telker starting in 24th. And our final two drivers, Paul Jackson starting in 25th, and Andrea Favini will bring up the rear and start in P26, and that is your 26 car starting lineup.
26 cars set to grab the green flag for the 9th round of this championship here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. Been a good season up to this point, and looking to keep the momentum rolling as we get into the final 3 rounds after this. And here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we've got some good action to look forward to. And one series coming up the pipe here over the next couple of months going to be running, and still looking for signups as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. Season number 2 of the Extreme Motorsports IndyCar Championship Series, broadcasted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Season 1 was an absolute stunner with some good races, some dramatic moments, and I still remember the fantastic race that we had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That was a brilliant season of racing that we just had go by, and the finish at Auto Club that season also ended up on the iRacing socials. So hey, if you want to end up on the iRacing socials potentially and drive around in those absolutely amazing IR18 Indy cars that they just refreshed here on the iRacing platform, you can join in on the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server through the link connected to our YouTube channel that you're seeing this broadcast on here today, and look into some more information to sign up. They're looking for some signups, and it is going to be a very good season that lie ahead, and you'll be able to catch all of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But Charles, we have got a 40-minute long Spec Racer Ford race that lies ahead, a race that I think could probably be summed up in one phrase, that being a 100+ mile an hour game of leapfrog.
Yeah, I think you're right. I will say that the track temp's over 100 degrees, so that's going to make the cars a little slippier. It might make it a little tougher to get the handle on them, so we may see some incidents that we normally won't with this group of drivers. So we'll keep an eye out on that. But yeah, it's going to be a fun race. If you like drafting, then this is the race for you. So we'll settle in here and we'll give them a good watch and see how everything unfolds.
Yeah, see how this race unfolds, see how it unravels for some and really goes well for others. I think we've got a mix of racers looking to do well. I don't want to apply the pressure early, but one racer who's probably looking to have a good day is Felix Amos. We discussed this right after the Formula V broadcast, how he's not going to be here next week, so he's not going to be running in the Formula Vs at the very least. I'm not sure if he will be there for the Formula Fords and the Spec Racer Fords either. So for him to have a good shot at the championship and catch up to Marco Panera between now and the end of the season, I think he needs to have a good round. We flash our minds back to last week at Orton Park. Those two came to blows heading down into the final corner. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't end the same way here. It's been a dramatic season up to this point, and I expect some drama to get flared up as well here, Charles. I don't know about you. This just feels like the kind of racetrack that can spawn moments like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that it's a wide enough track. You can do a lot of side-by-side racing, which is good when you've got something that's a track that's really draft heavy. So you can race fairly comfortably 2 wide, probably 3 wide in some spots. But once again, you've got to be very, very clean on the brakes, getting your car stopped and through the corners. These curbs don't do you any favors. I've seen lots of incidents where these cars get caught out by the curbs and taking them not quite the way you should. So that'll be another thing we'll have to keep an eye on as we're getting ready to start this race.
About to get up and rolling for the 9th round of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors season as a green flag that, and the drivers are on their way. Panero gets off to a flyer. Gonna try and lead them as big of a gap as he can down into turn number 1 and 2. This quick start to the lap can be fun to get some overtakes on, but can also probably be the spawn of some new clips on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel. But Panero still leading. You got right behind is Kane Lasky and Felix Amos getting off to a all right start as well. Currently slotted in 3rd. Jason Green dropping down a little bit early on in this race, as still some squabbling as we head our way out of turn number 3 into For the Kink here in a couple of moments time before we head our way off into turn number 5, the Adelaide hairpin. I said right before we got this broadcast up and rolling, I didn't have a good feeling about this turn. A big stack up, a big braking zone, and a good spot to try and get some moves done as well. Looks like everybody has made it through mostly clean, as I can see a big lock up there trying to keep that car spun around in the right direction. Outside of one driver having their front tires get turned into rectangles. Been a clean start thus far, Charles.
So far, so good. Nice, clean start by everybody. No incidents thus far. Obviously, Jason kind of got called out there, Jason Green. at the start. I think he took a wide line to give Pinero plenty of room, but maybe didn't quite jump the start the way he should have. So he's dropped a couple positions down, but that's fine for Jason. He'll just ride around and get to the pit stop and figure out what to do from there. So still some nice battles through here with saw Phil Berry there kind of hanging out on the inside, coming down through there, gets lined back up. So everybody pretty well behaved so far at the start of this race.
Yeah, rather I don't know why I nearly slipped into an Australian accent there. Rather tame. I nearly said rather time at this point in the race. Rather tame for these competitors as they head their way off into the final sector. We spoke too soon, as that's Leonard Geese going off the track in the 527 car, honking up the wrong tree there. He's going to take the shortcut through the final chicane. Not sure who he took off of the process of all of that, but certainly not a good moment for those competitors at all. I'm actually trying to figure out who that was on the other end of that moment. Not entirely sure, but certainly Leonard Geese involved in that bit of drama. We jump back now to the front of the field and follow Felix Maunz right in the coattails of Kane Lasky right in front. There's a battle for second, and needs to get that squared away soon because Marco Pinero already starting to try and pull a gap.
Yeah, as we see Samoa's making the move around Lasky to pick up P2. That was turn 15 that caught Geese out there just a bit, as he's now in a battle with Josh Justice sitting there on the inside. And so far, so good. Yep, no contact there. So nice move by Geese to get that position back. So just seemed like I couldn't tell who that was either that was involved with Geese, but I do see Josh Rookie with a yellow flag. Is that a slowdown that we're seeing there? No, that's yellow, not a black. So just went off track. So he caused a local caution, but he's back rolling again. And those flags should clear as we're still sitting there in that gap now with Josh is 1.8 seconds up to Braun. He's going to need those front cars to do a little bit of battling here so we can tighten that pack up just a bit.
Yeah, I'm actually looking through, cross-referencing the information that we're getting in sim and the information on the graphics. I believe that is an indicator of a driver having a slowdown. Alexander Gorson, he just picked up another slowdown as he shortcut the track heading off through turn number 14, and that's why the yellow flag is right next to him. Peterson Rocha also with a slowdown that he has picked up now. So a little bit odd that they marked off the yellow flags there as a slow. I was wondering that myself because I was looking there. I was like, what's a slowdown mean? Did they just pee themselves? Like, I didn't really know exactly what the deal was there. But anyways, we've still got some battling going on all throughout this field. I think I see right in front of Tom Gradwell. So it was Scott Russell that went off the track heading down into turn number 15 last time by with himself and Leonard Geese. I could see that car running in the midst of all of that drama. So the both of them still firmly inside of the top 15, but certainly will not want to have more moments like that as Andre Favini has made the call to come down to lane. Interesting. Not sure exactly what the deal is there.
That is interesting. We're only four minutes in, and he looks like he did a pit stop. I don't know if I don't think he's going to go 36 minutes with the fuel he's got on board, as we still see a little, some cars locking up and little checkups going down into that corner, as some of the pack is still pretty tight, and you can see the battles still going on as they're working their way through a couple of these corners and slowing each other down a bit. But so far, once again, no real drama out there. So do see Kevin Adrian now has a slowdown on the track, cut a corner somewhere, so have to give up a little bit of time. That's going to bring Cathcart in, as we're watching here with Wilkie and Simpkins battling for P6. Simpkins moving ahead. That puts him P2 in the Spec 2 class, P6 overall, just ahead of Wilkie, and still about 3 seconds behind Dirk Braun in leading the Spec 2 class.
Still looking good at the moment in that Spec 2 battle. At the front of the Spec 1 battle, looking rather tense with Marco Pinero, Felix Maunz, and Kane Lasky, all covered by about a half a second. I have a bad idea that just popped into our head, and I'll have to ask our producer, Mr. Guido Marzucchi, the SDK expert, as we like to call him here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Would it be at all possible if we could go into the files and swap out that yellow flag icon for the slowdown with, like, I don't know, a photo of something very slow like a snail, or a photo of me. It's impossible. We're hearing from Guido. That's a shame. That would be a very interesting thing, you know. I don't know, maybe the other people at SDK are listening to this, or just gonna put a photo of me behind the wheel of my car there, very slow behind the wheel. I'll tell you what, I got the opportunity to race alongside some of the Formula V drivers the other day in the other draft party session, and I wasn't too disgustingly slow. Wilkie's slow as he heads his way out turn number 5. I can see his car basically stopped on the outside there. Not sure what in the world happened to Joshua Wilkie, but I think he may have had a little bit of damage on that race car as well. Let's take a look at this moment here, Charles, as he has his way down the backstretch in a hornet's nest. This usually doesn't end well.
Yeah, he's right. Oh, just a little clip there as he just brakes a little too late. The car in front, I think, was not expecting Simpkins to brake that early, and did a good job. That was a nice job by Josh just to drive straight through. It did cause a little bit of contact with Simpkins in the back, but just drove straight through the corner, tried to get out of everybody's way and not make that problem much worse. So he lost some positions and lost a little bit of time, but I think he's just at the edge of that group. So I think he might be okay there. Nope, they're going to be 3.5 seconds off of that. I'm sorry, that's Justice. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of reading it wrong. But yeah, they're still in that second pack, so he's still in good shape. He still has a chance to make up some positions.
That moment for Wilkie heading down to turn number 5. Holy cow, I'm pretty sure if he was going a little bit quicker heading off into that turn, he probably would have ended up in Luxembourg by the end of his car still running around this track. As we take a look at a moment involving you, Simpkins, and it's turn 14, Charles. Your favorite, the section that you outlined right at the start of the show as being a Spec Racer Ford car's absolutely favorite turn in the whole wide world.
Yeah, apparently so. And yeah, just good to see Simpkins just kind of lose the rear, back on throttle. Car just kept rolling around, and whoever that was behind him did a great job of avoiding that contact as we see Wilkie moving back up into P7. So passing Gardini, but could not see who that was again. Missed that other car, but great job of avoidance by the cars around Simpkins there.
Yeah, so nice evasive action from all the racers who arrived at the scene of that accident first. Turn 14 around this track. It feels like a mix of every single thing that a race car does not want to do. A curve on the entry, so you're turning while braking. You also have the sorry, what was that, Guido, in the production truck? No problem there, Guido. I'll get on that as I continue on to talk about turn number 14. The problem is with that part of the track is it is everything that a car does not want to do and then some. But Charles, pass it off to you so you can explain how turn 14, the turn in the braking zone is not something a Spec Racer Ford car really likes to do.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It looks pretty straightforward. It's a greater than 90-degree right-hand corner, but just the way the corner is configured, it's almost a straight line and with a little bit of a hump in it, and it's so what we call a descending radius corner, which means it tightens up as you're coming around, and it's just real easy for you to miss the braking point and not get the car slowed down enough, and then B, to over rotate it as you're coming around when you're back on throttle. It's just very, very difficult for all those to see, or for the cars to navigate, especially when you're talking about a car that really depends on mechanical grip. And once you get those rear tires a little overheated, it doesn't want to comply as well as it did, and I think that plays as much in it as anything else. As when you're seeing those spins coming out of corners like that, is you're just really trying to make those rear tires do a lot, and it just sometimes it's too much. So as we're on board here with Gradwell, still leading in the Masters class in P12, was up to 11th and has dropped back down as we're looking there at Jim Brewster. Now back up to the front with Samoa's Panero, Lasky, Green, and Braun has kind of dropped off just a little bit. Looks like he's still involved. He's got a little bit bigger of a gap, but as you can see, these cars pretty much nose to tail going around here, and this is just a waiting game. They're trying to get to that pit stop and focus on that so they can get the cars into the pits and out cleanly, and then we'll do some racing in the last few laps. But these guys are basically, I would say, probably doing as much fuel conservation as anything else. They're not really pushing their luck as far as making a lot of moves, and they're just kind of riding around and kind of burn time and burn laps off.
As we jump back to this battle involving Flavio Andolo, Josh Wilkie, and the Swiss driver of Claudio Gardini and the number 33 machine, as he currently runs in 8th and just set his personal best lap of the race as well to 154.580. So that battle still going to look to be rather racy between now and the checkered flag. Brad Cathcart has made the call to come down pit lane, the Aussie behind the wheel of the 905 car, trying to do the same strategy that Andre Favini did a little bit earlier on in this race. Is Favini out there on the racetrack? I'm trying to look through. I think he is still there. He's just about a country mile behind.
Yeah, he's a pretty fair distance back. I think he's 24 seconds behind Cathcart, who's in the pits. So he's gave up all of his track position, and hopefully he's going to be able to just run some quick laps as he's got past Cathcart. As Cathcart's just now coming out of the pits, and it's coming out right behind him. So if Cathcart can get it up to speed, those guys can work together. Their next target will be Paul Jackson, but they're 19 seconds back. So ways to go yet. So Flavini is basically just hoping for some clean air, clean track, maybe a drafting partner. They can just run some quick laps and stay out of everybody's way until we get closer to the end and see where it all shakes out.
And Andre Favini, a driver that we know to be rather proficient behind the wheel of these Spec Racer Ford cars. He's been doing this all throughout the season, though, starting at the back and trying to make it work. I was going to say something very stupid there. Andre, these races usually go a little bit better when you actually qualify. But no, he's trying to have a good time, and currently classed in P25 as it stands right now. Felix Simoes is your race leader as it stands right now. Marco Panero back in second. Kane Lasky rounds at your podium runners in third, with Jason Green and Dirk Braun completing your top 5 pack. Josh Wilkie saying in a quick lap at a 154.1 as Josh Justice making the call to come down pit lane. Now, I do want to draw attention to this in the iRacing text chat. He sent in something about his fuel calculations. He calculated for this race to be a shortened pace lap, like it was for the Formula V's yesterday. The shortened pace lap usually starts on the backstretch between turns number 14 and 15. So that was, of course, not the case here. Probably a little bit low on fuel. So Justice throwing something at the wall to see what's sick. Stevie not out there on the racetrack. Stevie Ray not here for the Spec Racer Ford race. So we do not know when the pit window opens.
Yeah, but Josh being a real life Spec Racer driver, probably going to have a pretty good idea of what he needs in the car. As we see Cathcart with a slowdown there on the screen. Justice, does a really good job. He's always a capable driver in these. So if he's in, we'll say pit window is now officially open, and we'll give it to Josh for the race, and we'll let him give the call. So it's it'll be one of those that, once again, undercut. Oh, as we see Andrew Love, that was just weird. That's a kind of a lock up there, just as he was getting ready to turn in, and that was like all 4 tires locking. So it's, as I was saying, it's probably undercut's probably not a bad strategy, this being such a heavy draft track. It seems like you can work off some of the slower cars, and there's plenty of places to make passes. So it's not terribly constrictive. Obviously, there's a couple corners you probably don't want to force the issue, like 14 and 15 being the ones in particular there, as these cars are now working their way through the hairpin back to the start-finish line. You see Favini, I'm sorry, that's Andolo move over to the inside. I think he maybe had to catch that car coming through the chicane. So, probably not a bad strategy to try and undercut here and just get out of the mess and run some laps on your own.
So we take a look at a side-by-side fight with Russ Telker and Jim Brewster heading down into turns number 1 and 2. Don't usually see a move like that work, but there we go. That's Jim jumping his way up into P18. That's a pretty slick move heading off through the opening series of corners at the start of this lap. Nothing too spectacular, but in these Spec Racer Fords, that's a rather gutsy move from Jim. So well done to the Masters Racer behind the wheel of that 933 car to jump his way up into P18, but still not over yet. Telker looking to fight back as here we go. They're side by side through 4, about to head their way off into the Adelaide hairpin at turn number 5 right about now. Down on the brakes they're gonna go, down through the gears they're gonna go, and up into P18 Russ Telker's gonna go.
Yep, and he's back up using the draft to his benefit, makes the move back around Brewster. Probably see that a lot more than normal. You'll probably hear from the drivers that, man, I passed this guy like 12 times and got passed back by him another 11. So as we see Jorg Monty there with the slowdown, that's going to give Gradwell the Masters class lead once again, as these two drivers are battling pretty hard. They're sitting in P11 and 12. So you see Monty making a little bit of a mistake there. It cost him some time, but he's going to slot back in, and he'll see if he can get the draft working for him again and make his way back into that 11th position.
Yeah, so still a little bit of time left to go to try and make up into that spot. 17 minutes already gone by in this 40-minute long race here for round number 9, the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here on SMB. Felix Samoas is still your race leader. Dirk Braun, your leader in Spec 2, with Tom Gradwell leading in the Masters category. Let's talk about Felix here for a couple of moments. He was the winner of the Formula V race yesterday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting at this exact same racetrack nonetheless, and flashing our minds back to last season when we saw Magny Cours run here for the Spec Racer Fords. Felix started that race from the pole and converted it into a win. If there is any happy hunting ground for Felix, I feel like Magny Cours would probably be it.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way as Lasky makes the move on Pinero to pick up P2. It's going to drop Marco down to 3rd, and you still see that 5-car group at the front. A little bit of a gap now back to Green. He's lost a little bit of time to Pinero, so it's 1.2 seconds to gap back. And so now we're kind of seeing a split there in that lead 5 as Wilkie is up in 6. So you can see that, Wilkie's doing everything he can do to try and get up there to Braun, but it's going to take a little more fighting up front here to get this second group back in contact.
Yeah, there will be a little bit of effort having to get put in by those racers to really reel them in. The thing is, with this track, it is twisty. We got 17 turns around this track, and frankly, the longest flat-out blast on the entirety of it, I would probably say, on the back straightaway and the start-finish straightaway, along with this run between turns number 14 and 15. But despite being twisty, this track has also got a decent amount of straight-line spots to keep the draft high up there on the top of the list for important things to keep in mind if you are one of the racers behind the wheel of these cars. Keep it good through the corners, but if you could just keep them honest, that'll work out very well for you. That was Josh Wilkie with a bunny hop strategy, heading his way off through the final chicane. That I gotta imagine, I feel the back pain heading off through there, but thankfully it is sim racing, so you won't have to worry about that in the morning. Kane Lasky, though, he's on the charge right now, just at the fastest lap of the race last time by, and he is now all over the back of Felix Samoas. Not sure if we'll see a bump draft from him heading down the back stretch into turn number 5, or if we're going to see an overtake for the race lead. Lasky looking for it down the inside into the turn, and I think Felix Samoas just going to let him by on the inside. Lasky's going to go, and up into P1 he's going to go as well. The Flower Power car now up at the front.
Yeah, I think Lasky's found something. I think he passed Pinero in that same corner last lap. So I think he's found a place he likes. He can brake really well and late on the inside and make that move. So he's back. He's up to the lead now. Kane doing a good job, and he's had some really good runs as of late. As we talked about, winning the race last week at Orland Park with a little assistance from some other guys, but was in the position to win it nonetheless. So he's having a great run, and we'll see how this all going to play out as we're just at the halfway point now. So we've got Green is now back up. I think that's actually checked that lead 3 up now. So Green able to get back into the draft So now we're going to have him and Braun close back up as they run down through here, and we'll have a nice 5-car pack back in the front again.
Yeah, so that gap, as quickly as it began to increase between your top 3 of Lasky, Samoas, and Panero, and your back 2 in that top 5 of Jason Green and your Spec 2 leader of Dirk Braun. There they go again. Jason Green setting his personal best lap of the race as well at a 154.333. So Jason Green really looking to try and impress at the moment as we jump back to this battle. Now 3 cars strong with Russell Telker, Kevin Adrian, and Jim Brewster, all covered by not a lot as they had their way down into turn number 15 right now. Good battle between 2 Spec 2 competitors and a Masters racer in the form of Brewster. It's been going on for a decent amount of time as we take a look at this squabble heading down the backstretch off into turn number 5. That's Kevin Adrian down the inside of Russ Telker, and it looks like that'll be a rather convincing move there. Telker nearly ending up in the gravel, heading off through there. We coined it the Laguna, the Corkscrew Crunch a couple of weeks ago, and we were running at Laguna Seca. Here, though, I think Magny Cork Crunch kind of works.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So yeah, it's French vanilla flavor, Magny Cork Crunch.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah, so Samoa's back in the lead over Panero, dropped Lasky down to 3rd. So both Panero and Samoa's able to get in front of Lasky over the last lap. And yeah, just you can see from the view. Just kind of watch this. Watch the draft start working for Panero here down this straightaway, and how much time he just gains on Lasky. Lasky just a sitting duck. He's getting the draft off of Samoa's in front. He's able to get the car side by side. Just gets the overlap, nice inside line there, gets a good run out of the corner, and makes that pass pretty easy. So both cars getting by Lasky, and that won't be the last time we see a pass there, probably today for sure.
Dun, 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 dun. That's exactly what was going through my mind as I saw Panero slowly but surely irk his way up to the front. The thing is with these Spec Racer Fords, I say this a disturbing amount on whenever I cover some Radco SR10 action on the iRacing platform. These cars probably up in the top 3 in terms of the biggest drafters on the road side of things. You got this, you got the Formula V, and you got the SR10, which are just absolutely drafting monsters. These Spec Racer Fords, the first ever Weekend Warriors show that I did back in March of 2023 with our old pal Tim Cox, back when he didn't know how to pronounce my last name. I remember getting a lesson from him basically saying, hey, so the drafting with these Formula Vs, just basically imagine you pick up about 50,000 bajillion horsepower and also pick up some nitrous. That is how powerful it is in these Spec Racer Fords. That was certainly not a direct quote from Tim. I can't even remember what I had for lunch this afternoon, let alone what he told me many moons ago on these broadcasts. But Charles, you and I have been doing these Spec Racer Ford shows for many a moon, and really the Spec Racer Fords in a class just about all of their own when it comes to how insanely powerful the drafting is.
Yeah, it really is, and it's just these cars just make a big hole as they're running. They have a fairly aerodynamic shape, but they still just push a lot of air out, and so those cars behind, you'll see them pick up 2 or 3 tenths down these straightaways. As we have a black flag for Chris Thorpe. Did he come into the pits? He did. So that's a speeding on exit, I'm going to guess, as the black flag is still there. So he'll make a run back down one more time to serve that nice stop and hold for Chris, and then that's going to put back foot. Oh, Panero, Samoa's in the pits for their pit stop, the 25-minute mark.
And now things start to get spicy, and I get bad flashbacks about the time I tried to eat a jalapeno pepper and got my tongue stuck to an ice pack. Panero and Samoa's the main championship rivals coming down pit lane. It gives the race lead to Kane Lasky, Jason Green, and Dirk Braun running all by themselves in P1, P2, and P3. Braun dropping back a little bit as Andre Favini now starts to come into the fold. We saw the driver of the number 27 machine pit very early on. I gotta wonder what sort of fuel saving saving miracle it would have to pull off to make it to the end of this race. But hey, I've seen stranger things. I'm not even talking about the show on Netflix. We'll say Maunz and Pinheiro actually broke away from each other somewhat through that round of pit stops. About a 1.5 second gap between the two of them. I'm going to look through to see the times that they spend down pit lane and down in their pit box. That would make sense, about a 1.5 second gap, because it was about 1.5 seconds the difference between the two and their time stopped in the pit stall. So I wonder if we'll see Felix Maunz have enough fuel to make it to the end of this race. We've seen Felix go for these strategy calls in the past, sometimes intentionally, other times not intentionally, and sometimes it's worked out very well, sometimes it hasn't. If there's a time to make it work, though, it's definitely now for Felix.
Yeah, we've seen that. As I've even seen Pinheiro make a bad pit strategy call and run out of fuel. It happens. You're trying to go down there as quickly as you can, and most, if not all, of these guys have some kind of fueling software that they use to gauge how much fuel they need to refill, even if it's just the iRacing fueling calculation. You see Magny in the pits, Dirk Braun in the pits as well. It's going to leave Jason Green out there all by himself for at least one lap.
Yeah, so Jason Green going to be running alone, but Kane Lasky's picked up a black flag as Josh Wilkie has spun out of the final corner. So SMB having a very terrible series of moments there. Lasky, a race winner last time out at Oran Park, picking up a black flag, definitely for speeding on pit entry, as Wilkie spun through the final chicane. Every single time I've seen Josh head off through here, it feels like my bones have been sitting in vinegar. And let's see, I think he bit off a bit too much of the curb there. First part of that hit the curb, popped up into the air, and up into the spin he's gonna go. Tough for Wilkie, still slotted in third, but losing out on a lot of time. And more drivers picking up a black flag. Jörg Magny, very, very venerated in this series, picking up a penalty. The pit entry around here comes out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, and if it's pit entry speeding, that's going to be a stop, and you're going to get held for 40 seconds. So that's basically going to take Lasky out of contention, as we're going to watch his pit entry. And there's the cone. Looks like it's too much speed through there. So that's going to take him out of contention, as well as Monty is going to drop way down as well when they add 40 seconds to that pit time. We did see Wilkie taking that. You've got the red and white little raised curb, but he took the big raised orange curb on that first part of the chicane. And you just see the Spec racer just can't handle that, and around he went. So lost himself several seconds trying to get that car recovered.
Yeah, I think I said this in reference to a Formula Ford broadcast that we were doing last season at Thruxton. I'll say it again. A Spec Racer Ford and high curbs heading off through that final chicane here at Magny Cours is like trying to make a smoothie out of beef bones, just pure beef, and a couple of handfuls of aluminum foil, as Jason Green has come down pit lane from the race lead. And now we get a good idea as to how things are going to shake out here in this race. I'm sure Flavio Andelo going to stay out another lap. Yes, he has. That's usually how it rolls for him. Josh Wilkie, he is still, actually no, he's just now come down pit lane. So that's Wilkie coming in from P3. So that'll give 2 podium spots back to Felix Maunz and Marco Pinheiro, who are now running just about by their lonesome, but Jason Green gonna be there in the midst of it there as well. You can see him exiting out right behind these two. The pit exit rather terrifying as well, just trying not to cross that line and pick up any sort of pit exit penalty, but he's still right there to pound. So it is certainly a 3-car battle as it stands right now.
It is indeed, yeah. Green with a good stop there to come back out. Right in the midst of that battle with Pinheiro and Maunz, as we see a little more carnage here as we got a car slow, and then Lasky with the dive to the inside. Brad Cathcart, the Aussie, getting a little tap and then spinning the car, and then Andrew Love kind of getting involved as well. So we got a nice 3-car battle up front. We've got Dirk Braun has dropped down to P6 from a very long stop. And so he's going to be in a battle with Claudio Gardini for that the final position in top 5, as we see Wilkie back there getting up to speed, running in 7th. So Braun's going to need to keep focused up here and not allow Wilkie to gain any time as Braun and maybe Gardini If they decide to battle, they're going to have to keep it as clean as they possibly can, or it's going to make that a little bit messier, as Wilkie's going to do his best to try and make up some of that time.
Yeah, so Josh trying to get his bearing straight after that spin, heading off through the final chicane. I was just going to raise this, talking about the ongoing situation with these racers out there on the track, because I think Flavio Andelo potentially out of gas. He's sputtering, so he will make it to pit lane in time, with probably that car being fueled not even by vapor. It's probably the Lord's Prayer as he came down into the pits, stops in his pit stall, going to be dropping down as a result of all this. A slowdown for Stelker, that yellow flag there. I gotta say, well done to the people at SDK for adding that in there. There's always a little bit of confusion as to whether or not something was a slowdown or a racer was just naturally slow. Now that we have that graphic, we can tell you for sure. But as it stands currently with the other front two, Wilkie picking up a slowdown as well. Felix Samos and Pernero, along with Jason Green, running in their own little squabble as it stands right now. As there's Wilkie very slow heading down that start-finish straightaway. That final chicane, I gotta say, one of my first times running around this track on iRacing was doing it in an LMP3 car, trying to do some sighting laps before an endurance race broadcast that I did around here. Oh, that was Leonard Geese and Josh Wilkie nearly coming to blows. That final chicane is hell. I don't know who greenlighted the design of that final chicane, but whoever it is should be smacked.
Yeah, and anytime you see a spec racer, all four wheels in the air, that means you've probably taken the corner wrong. So you see the battle here with Scott Russell and Leonard Geese, who's up to P7, Leonard Geese P2 in the class, as Wilkie lost some time there with his slowdown through the chicane. I did see the reason that Pernero was able to get back on Samoa so quickly. He had a slowdown as well. So that enabled Pernero to get some of that gap back and get back in the draft. And so that's going to give us a nice three-car battle for the final 7.5 minutes of this race.
So we still got some squabbling to try and get sorted out between now and the end of this 9th round of the championship. It's been a good one thus far here at Magny Cours, and it looks like we've got a good finish on our hands. Samoas, Pernero, and Green, some of the top racers in this series, all going to be the ones duking it out. I will say, though, not seeing the spark out of Jason Green that would have me thinking that he will get involved in that battle between himself and Samoas and Pernero. Knowing my luck, though, he's probably playing us like a damn fiddle. Next thing you know, he's going to pick up a couple of seconds every lap, and Jason's going to be right there at the very end of this race. But I think the main two involved in this battle are going to be Samoas and Pernero, as they still run nose to tail coming into the closing stages of this race, as that is not three-wide action, but it's certainly damn close to it. That's Leonard Geese, Scott Russell, and Josh Justice squabbling for spots down to one, as Andre Favini, he's made the call to come down pit lane, just not able to make that run up to the line clearly. Prayer can do many things. Power a spec racer Ford car, though, may not be one of them. As here we go.
Oh, there's Pernero taking the lead over Samoas. That's going to draw Jason. I'm not sure. Maybe Jason's thinking he's got a number. He's got a hit on his fuel. But this is going to help as these cars are still side by side coming through that corner.
Oh,
you see the contact there between Samoas and Green. I'm sorry, Samoas and Pernero. These cars are battling hard. Green's actually in a really good spot. I think the last time we saw these guys fighting this hard was at Donington Park, and they double disqualified. So and plus last week as well. So they gave Lasky the win. But so I think Jason's in a pretty good spot.
Jackson.
No.
Oh, cowboy, that was a wild ride from Felix Samoas, and Pernero going to fight back as well in the exit at turn number 14. Jason Green is loving this. It would love it even more if these two picked up a double DQ, but they are still squabbling as they head their way down to turn number 15. Pernero going to jump out into the race lead. Don't think about it, Felix. Okay, good. Side-by-side racing through that final chicane would work about as well as trying to do brain surgery with a jackhammer, so they keep it single file all through there. Pernero now leading over Felix Samoas. They were throwing haymakers at each other, and I have a distinct feeling here, Charles, that the battling is still going to be intense as they head their way down into turn number 3, a real tough corner to nail down in these practically no downforce, low-powered cars. And to flutter that gas pedal on the V's, I'm sure these racers and the Spec Racer Fords having to do roughly the same, but here we go. Samoa's with the run, gonna take it down the backstretch into 4. That's the kink right there, practically inconsequential in these cars, but here's the real tough test. Turn number 5, the Adelaide hairpin, down the gears and on the brakes are gonna go. Samoa's, oh no, he spins! Samoa's, yet again, he spins from the race lead. That's going to cause us to have this battle as Panero and Green now battling. Samoa's going to take himself out of it in a heartbreaking mistake, and one that my vocal cords are going to feel for quite some time.
Yeah, and we've seen these guys fight hard, and there's always sometimes we'll see a move that we would consider to be kind of sketchy. That one I don't think was. I think Samoa's was already losing the rear of the car. There was just nowhere for Panero to go at that point, and so contact was made. It has damaged the front of Marco's car, so he's going to lose a little bit of his top speed. You see him going for the over-under, gets a good run, and Samoa is just trying to get back on the throttle, loses the rear. Tough break for Samoa's. Once again, these guys, week in and week out, they battle extremely difficult. We'll get another view here from the cockpit of Samoa's, working their way down into 5. Next, nice line in, and just all of a sudden the rear just lets go, and that was it. And the tough break for Samoa's, and that's going to take him out of the battle. Now it's up to Green and Panero. Panero, obviously, with that front end damage, is going to make it a little bit more difficult for him to ride in the front. So maybe he might want to let Green go into the last little bit, but we'll see. I don't think Panero ever thinks about being behind somebody.
I gotta say, and this is honest, I don't think it's in Marco Panero's interest at all to throw the kitchen sink at this. If it were me, if I were Marco Panero, which I am not, I just talk about his driving as he's out there on the racetrack, I would just let Jason Green by, frankly. I mean, there's not a lot in it for you to just throw the kitchen sink at it all. You're still going to finish in front of your main championship rival and really do yourself a lot of favors. Deja vu nearly. Okay, so that's the other car that looks exactly the same as Samoa's. That's Chris Thorpe running a little bit farther in the back of the pack with a half spin coming out of the Adelaide hairpin at turn number 5. That hairpin, that is the moment heading off through that turn to have a spin coming out of there. Not even a lot of contact. Certainly the contact was made, but primarily because Samoa's spun and ground to a halt. That's just the sort of thing that you get with the Adelaide hairpin. It's like a bowl heading all through there.
Yeah, it really is. And you can see the drivers struggling, some of the drivers struggling with it. And as we're back on board in the front here, the one thing they don't want to do with a lap and a half or so left is they do not want to get into a side-by-side battle and let Felix Samoas get back up to the back of this group, because I'm sure he will want to atone for the mistake he made earlier. And he will do everything he can to try and win this race that he had every opportunity to do before that spin. So these guys are going to stay. I'm pretty sure Jason's going to stay in line until he absolutely has to make the move on Panero.
So the white flag going to be there. One more lap of racing action here at Magny Cours, and it's Jason Green running right behind the wounded car of Marco Panero. The 16 and the 160 practically evenly matched on their lap times last time by, and fairly close together as they head their way through Estoril. Turn number 3 for the final time in this race. Marco Panero with that damaged front end, the wheels bugged out from that front clip of the car. Someone just wrecked through the final chicane. That's Wilkie coming down pit lane as well. Leonard Geese also with a slowdown as he heads his way onto the start-finish straightaway. But Panero and Green, they're swapping up in the front. I was just going to say that Panero, he's got to feel like he's dragging an anchor through asphalt down the flat-out blast, but he's still going to fight it down the inside to 5, and Green going to give him the space on the inside to let him fight back. Now, we got to wonder, will Green have another opportunity? He's drawing along side by side as they head their way down into the Nürburgring chicane, turn number 7 and 8. Green looking for it around the outside. They touch touch. They bang wheels through there, and Jason Green's still there, but he's picked up a slowdown. Panero forcing him off the track and forcing Jason Green into a slowdown. Oh, you can see they nearly touched again through turn number 9. Jason Green probably not going to be happy at all, and I can't necessarily blame him. Marco Panero booting Jason Green a little bit out of the way. It was a rough ride on the outside, turn number 7, but I still think they could have made it work a little bit easier, but Panero still holds on to the lead. Jason Green, he's probably driving a little bit angry behind right now as well. Wants to try and grab this win. He's still there to pounce as well, but it's probably going to have to take a last-second dive into turn number 15 to try and make it work. Marco Panero with a damaged front end on that race car, looking to get another win for himself thus far in this season that has been dominated by him. It was controversy last time out here at Oran Park. It's not going to be controversy. Instead, it's going to be a win for Marco Panero as he heads his way through the chicane to grab the checkered flag here at Magny Cours. He wins over Jason Green in P2. Felix Samos with a heartbreaking third. I would not be happy at all if I was Jason Green getting shown the door through that first chicane and getting forced into a slowdown that just about sealed your fate. Claudio Gardini going to finish in a, I believe, season best P4 for him. So well done to Claudio with Dirk Braun winning in Spec 2. That's a battle for Spec 2 right behind. That's Leonard Geese and Drew Simpkins. Simpkins got to pick up a slowdown that he cannot serve coming out of that chicane. No. That'll get turned into a black flag, so that'll be P9 for Leonard Geese. Simpkins probably going to shoot all the way down. I'd probably say outside the top 20 at the end of this race as well. That's another complaint I have about that final chicane. You pick up a slowdown there on the last lap. There's one word to describe the way that you are heading off through there, and that is that you are completely
cooked.
Yes.
Your goose has been cooked, Leonard.
Yeah.
Sorry, it wasn't even Leonard. It was used. So we I mean called the wrong guy out. But yeah, it is tough. You get that slowdown in the last chicane, and once you cross the start finish line, turns into a black flag, 40-second penalty. So that is going to drop use down quite far down the order, as we have Paul Jackson, Chris Thorpe. Looks like our last two that are going to be crossing the start finish line here. But we have 25 cars, like really well done. Not much attrition today. Only a couple cars that didn't make it to the end. So I think we're about ready to wreck some equipment, as they're going to be looking for a place to jump these cars. As I see everybody lining up, I think Jason's out of gas, and he's probably going to need a push.
Oh no. God! Oh no!
Ooh.
Oh dear!
Ooh. No, they were.
That was an oh Christ! He just got killed by Russ Telker. Oh boy! That was an explosion of Spec Racer Fords there.
It was indeed. Yeah, I thought that was going to be him giving Jason a push, but that was actually him basically being a backstop for Jason, so he could be the ramp for the rest of the cars to come in. So once again, Spec Racer race is done. You can tell because there's littered equipment, free souvenirs for everybody that can get on the track before the crews get out there to pick up the parts. So well done, great race. Again, just very tight racing at the front is what we come to expect. As you see the last lap battle here, working their way through the chicane. And looks like Panero caught a little bit of that orange curb. May have pushed him a little wide, might have been the thing, but he wasn't going to give Jason a lot of room anyway. And then Jason almost decides to maybe push the issue a little bit in the next corner, but no contact, and Panero wins the race.
And Panero whacking that curb on the inside of turn number 7 really sealed the fate for Green. I was about to say, we've already had some drama in this race. A bump and run in a Spec Racer Ford wouldn't have completely blown my socks off. It probably would have blown out my vocal cords, on the other hand, which is certainly not ideal, especially with the schedule that I've got. But here's your results at the end of round number 9 of this season. Marco Panero going to get yet another win for himself here in this season and build up that gap between himself and Felix Samos as we get into the final 3 rounds of this championship. Panero, he has been on fire here in season 3 of 2025, and that is his 5th win already this season. Jason Green came oh so close to getting his first win of the championship. That's not going to come today. He ends up 2 2/10 of a second behind, I should say, right behind in P2. Felix Moes going to round out your top three with Claudio Gardini finishing this race in fourth, Dirk Braun in fifth, Flavio Andelo is classed in P6, Josh Justice in seventh, Scott Russell in eighth, Leonard Geese in ninth, with Daniel Wood rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, finishing in 11th is Alexander Gorson. Tom Gradwell, gets the Masters class victory, finishing in 12th. And then Philip Berry finishes in 13th. Kane Lasky finishes in 14th after the penalty. Kevin Adrian in 15th. Jim Brewster gets P2 in Masters in 16th. Russ Telker finishing in 17th. Andrew Love finishes in 18th. Andrea Favini finishes in 19th. Brad Cathcart with the final step on the Masters podium finishing in 20th. Peterson Rocha finishing in 21st. Hugh Simpkins 22nd. See the penalty involved there. Paul Jackson finishing in 23rd. Chris Thorpe finishes in 24th. Josh Wilkie a lap down finishing in 25th. And Jorg Monty rounding out your 26 car finishing order, finishing in 26th after a very early penalty.
And so those are your results at the end of this race. Round number 9 of the Spec Racer for the Weekend Warriors here on SMB. And looks like we already have some drivers looking to have a chat with us at the end of this race. And I'm trying to think of how exactly we will go about this. I think we'll get started by having a chat with our P2 finisher, Jason Green, up there in the broadcast booth. And Charles, I will let you have a chat with our P2 finisher.
Yeah, let's bring Jason in here and have a chat with him. So congrats on the P2, not the P1 that you thought you might get there after all the battle up front. So just talk about it from your standpoint.
Yeah, I saw that Marco had gotten damaged after clipping the back of Felix, after Felix kind of lost it on his own a little bit. So I thought, this will be easy. He's going to be slow in a straight line. I can just take my time and fly past him. But yeah, you need to factor in the fact that he's Marco Pinero, so you can't really count him out no matter what. So yeah, it's just on the last lap there. It's got pushed out a little bit, got the slowdown, and it's kind of had the wrong instinct. I think I probably should have just stayed side by side. And us going through the corner would have served the slowdown, but I was like, well, my initial instinct was just to get rid of the slowdown as quickly as possible, and then try to get him in later in the lap. But yeah, that didn't work out.
Yeah, and we were watching that replay after the race, and it looked like he caught a little bit of that orange curb on the inside and may have pushed him out a little bit. So, but Pinero, obviously very, very fast racer. And very aggressive on the track, so he doesn't give a lot of quarter out there. But once again, great run by you. But I think you should be pretty happy with P2. Obviously, P1 will be much happier, but P2 still a good result considering you had some really fast racers up there.
Yep. Yeah, this is one of my best tracks, so yeah, pretty happy I was able to take advantage of that a little bit. But yeah, and then. Going through that chicane side by side is it's almost impossible not to get. I kind of expected to get shoved out there a little bit. It's almost impossible not to make contact there. It's just the nature of the that particular part of the track. So yeah, no worries there. I guess it's better to be side by side there than to the last chicane. Which I think I was every single race we did last season. So that was a good change. But yeah, love this track. Don't think we'll be coming back here anytime soon in the SRFs, unfortunately. But hopefully I get to drive in some other cars.
Yep. So I'm assuming that means it's rotating off the schedule. So so we'll see it again in about 3 or 4 seasons probably as we pick up some new ones. So next and now Ron's going to whisper in my ear and tell me where we're racing next week, unless you know it.
We are at Road America next week, so that'll be a lot more draft and super wild, as it always is there in the SRF. So so yeah, that'll be a good broadcast to turn into.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Road America, once again, very, very lots of drafting, lots of lead swaps. We'll get a nice 5 or 6 car draft up at the front, and we'll see how it all works out. But Jason, congratulations on the P2. We'll let you give any thanks or shout outs and let you go celebrate.
Yeah, thanks. Shout out to everybody part of Slow Motion Racing. We had a great weekend, great Friday and Saturday at the Portimao 1K. So shout out to everybody that took part in that. Dirk, Guido, Dan Sadro, Sewell as well, and then Brad and Jason Greider. We all had great races and a lot of fun.
Very cool. All right, Jason, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
And that right there was Jason Green, your P2 finisher and team captain of Slow Motion Racing as well. Nice to see the team effort there for that rather interesting event there with the old GT cars. I will not say exactly what was said, but I did get a chance to go in and see what was being said during that broadcast on the iRacing channel, and have it be known that Mr. Arjuna Kankapati was quite a fan of that combination and used some phrases I'm not sure if I can repeat on the air or he can repeat on the air either, but we'll bring in our Spec 2 winner and sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, Mr. Dirk Braun, here in the broadcast booth, another member of Slow Motion Racing and the sponsor of today's show. Dirk, welcome into the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the Spec 2 win, and thank you as well for sponsoring this broadcast here today. How was it out there here at Magny Cours?
I loved it. I love this track. I'm surprised this track doesn't get more hype than it does. It was beautiful. Besides the heat, that was could have done without that.
I know Charles raised that point right before he grabbed the green flag in this race. Rather warm track temperatures on a track that, despite having its long flat-out blast, it can be a little bit torturous on the tires. So how did that car feel towards the end? I'm sure it was handling not very well.
No, it was definitely like it was on ice, especially those long corners where you just want to get in the gas really early. You just had to kind of throttle back a little bit. So, but yeah, it worked out. So
certainly worked out very well for you, keeping good pace all throughout this race and walking away with a Spec 2 win in the process of it all as well. We mentioned this a lot throughout the show, and we'll raise it again. You are the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, as you will be for the next couple of weeks, and through yourself and Twisted Reflections Auto Paint. So I'll pass the mic off to you to tell the viewers about Twisted Reflections.
yeah, so in 2014, I retired from the military and needed a job. So I tried to go work for a body shop downtown, which is what my profession was in the Air Force. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't work for somebody else. So my wife and I decided to start our own business and been doing it ever since. And thank God we've had plenty of business. But we do everything from restorations, metal fabrications, accident damage. We even do government contracts, stuff like that. So we're happy to help out, sponsor.
And you know, Charles as well is a veteran, so thank the both of you for your service. And I'll ask you as well, Dirk. You're going to be on the Racing Line podcast this upcoming Tuesday as well. I think all of us here in the broadcast booth, Charles, Guido, yourself, and myself have outside of you at the moment, we've all been on that podcast. So I'll ask you about that. How do you feel heading off into the fourth seat this upcoming Tuesday?
Oh, I'm actually looking forward to it. That way, these guys, and heck, I finally get to meet Stevie and, Jason Green and stuff like that face to face with Adam too, so be nice to put a name to the face. But I'm happy to kind of, say a little about myself so people get to know me a little bit better. And I look forward to, meeting more folks in here because I tell you, the people I raced with so far, they're great. So really appreciate it. Really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have some fun. And just as a little bit of advice for me personally, make sure Adam doesn't meow in your entire time on that show.
Will do.
But looking ahead to next week as well, going to be running at Road America for the next round of this championship. What are your thoughts heading there?
I love Road America. I raced a lot of Road America on the GT3s. Of course, it's going to be a lot different than SRF, but I'm looking forward to it. So,
yeah, certainly going to be a heck of a lot of fun. I feel like Road America is that classic American sports car track, and this is a classic American sports car, and looking forward to seeing that race there in 1 week's time. But Dirk, we'll let you give any more thanks or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate this Spec 2 win.
Yeah, I just thank you guys again. I love what you guys do, and hope to talk to you guys some more. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed that you can join us here on the broadcast booth for the final few rounds of this season. Dirk, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sponsoring today's show, and looking forward to seeing you out on track for the rest of the season.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you as well. That right there was Dirk Braun, your Spec 2 winner at the end of this race and the sponsor of today's show here on SMB. And Charles, I'll let you have dibs on the next interview.
Yeah, let's bring in my old buddy, Mr. Jim Brewster. Finished, I think, P2 in the Masters class today. So we'll bring him in for a quick chat. I think we do have one more. So we'll try. Jim, we're going to try and keep it brief to get Leonard in here as well. But Pete, I think P2 in the Masters class today. So how was your run?
Well, I had some good fighting. I fought with Phil for a while, then I fought with Kevin a bunch. But the reason I'm here is to say I passed 2 people in the pits. First time in my life, probably the last time. So I just want to get credit for passing 2 people. You give me a simple enough pit entry, and one downshift, I can keep my head out of my butt long enough. And so I'm excited about that. It was a good run. I made 2 small mistakes. That's crazy off camper corner up on the top. But other than that, it was a really good run. A lot of fun. Hi, Tam. I hope you're watching. And hello, guys.
Hey, Jim. Hey, so
I'll see you next week.
One more question. Not to burst your bubble, but will those 2 guys have pit entry penalties by any chance?
Sure, could be. Do I care?
Fair enough. Jim, thanks for stopping in. Congrats on the P2.
I could have had heart attacks for all I care.
Jim Brewster. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, take care.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. Oh boy, I think that may be the only interviews that we've got time for here, but oh man, that was a pretty good way to end it off there, Charles. But Road America next week, that is going to be a really fun race. We think about Road America, we think of drafting, and when you think of drafting, you think of a Spec Racer Ford car.
Yep, it's going to be a great race. Everybody that's watching, tell your friends. It is seriously a really good track, and these cars run really well there. There's lots of places for them to make passes, and there are some technical sections they're going to have to deal with, primarily between turns 5 and the kink. So it's going to be a great battle, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to see these guys come back next week hungry and ready to do some drafting.
Yeah, hungry, happy, and ready to rock and roll for the 10th round of this championship. Breaking off into double digits here for the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors as we rapidly approach upon the end of Season 3 of 2025 here on iRacing. And we get closer and closer with every passing moment, it feels like, to hitting 1,200 subscribers here on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel. Now 12 away. We may very well be able to hit that before next week's broadcast at Road America. So to all of you tuning into the show, happy to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Got a whole lot of stuff to look forward to week in and week out, season and season outs. This season's been a fantastic one here on SMB and looking to wrap it up strong for the next 3 weeks. But as for this broadcast here, for round number 9 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Magny Cours, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.